Well, hello, my inky friends. It's Cindy Lynn with My Inky Fingers. Thank you so much for joining me today on my YouTube channel and blog. If you're new here, welcome. Today, I wanted to make a thank you card. So I went to my trusty Pinterest where I save my color combinations from paint swatches. I got some colors in mind, and I had some cards in mind too that I had seen. And I really liked the feathers, how they looked on that first card. And this here really kind of drew me in because I have that die, and I thought, you know what, I like where that card was kind of going, so I'm going to switch it up a bit, and I am going to list all the supplies down below in the YouTube description, everything you see in my video and on my blog, but I'm going to pull out some cardstock there, and I'm going to die cut each of these words 4 times because I'm going to make 4 of these cards. Now here on this Mossy Meadow, I'm going to pull out the Mossy Meadow ink, and using that sponge dauber, I'm just going to daub the bottoms, and I'm going to do that for each color, the Old Olive and the Crumb Cake, just to give it a little bit more dimension. We're taking this card to the next level, and if you know me, you know I never leave anything just cut out like that. I like to blend some ink on it just to give it dimension and make it pop. So I cut out doing each of them, right? But I'm going to use the Free as a Bird sentiment there, and I'm going to stamp this on the Pretty Peacock, and I'm going to stamp it an extra time just for good measure because I'm probably not going to save that little bit of cardstock, so just in case one of them doesn't turn out perfectly like I like it, so I've got an extra one. I'm going to emboss those with white embossing powder just to kind of make it pop a little bit on that background because it's a little dark and the card is white, right? So I'm going to use my heat gun and I'm going to melt that till it's all smooth and hardened. And then I'm going to take my chamois and kind of wipe off all of that embossing powder so that my cardstock doesn't have that cloudy look. Now my die, my paper was a little thin, but I was able to get all my little sentiments cut out there with that die. And that die, I've got everything listed down below for you guys. So here, I want to stamp repetitively. So I'm going to stamp both of these feathers on my grid paper that I have laminated with acetate. And then I can kind of move my acetate around on the card front so I know exactly where it's going to stamp each time. So I'm just kind of, feeling it out. The first one, if you don't get it perfect, don't stress. You can kind of jiggle it around once you got a visual, or even pull out some copy paper and stamp them on copy paper first, and then you'll see how they're going to come out. Now here, if you don't have gold ink, because we don't carry gold ink anymore, you can emboss these, but to save time, and I just went with the gold ink, and I love the reflection the gold ink gives, but I was feeling it was kind of a little flat because it wasn't embossed, but I'm going to show you how I fixed that. So as you can see, I did bring in a piece of copy paper there that I was blending on, just so that my second feather didn't ink on my actual card front. Now I'm kind of thinking about what I want to do on the inside. I may as well stamp it now while I've got my stamps out and they're dirty, because that ink is not the easiest ink to get off, so make sure you use your scrubby mist for that. So I'm just kind of laying these around here just to see what I want on the inside, and I'm playing with it, and I'm thinking, yeah, I'm going to angle that there feather. Now as you can see, I can just put the magnet on the insert and hold it exactly where I want that to stamp. So I was really happy with that. Now I wanted to bring in some color, so I'm going to go with the Pretty Peacock on the sentiment. And as you can see, I try not to put my paper in the corners, because if you put your paper in the corners and then put your stamps on them, you don't have the wiggle room. And if you've done this before, you'll know what I mean. So if you keep your paper that you want to stamp on towards the center of your acetate, then you have room to wiggle it around up or down, side to side. But again, in the corner, it won't move, right? It won't move up or to the right. Nevertheless, so here, as you can see, I stamped that off a few times on my scratch paper because I wanted to decide which generation of ink I wanted, and I want the 3rd generation here. So I'm going to ink it up with the Pretty Peacock, stamp it off 2 times, and then stamp it on my card front. Now, down in that bottom corner, I thought I was going to want these all angled, and me and my OCD, I was like, I didn't like it. But I'm not going to scratch it. You know what? Because the recipient of this card may not have the same OCD that I do, and they may think it's totally fine. So I'm just laying out all 3 of my thanks and my little sentiment strip with the thank you, because I want to make sure that I'm not stamping behind where those are going to be. That's just my personal preference. You can stamp your background anywhere you want it. It's your card. You can have it angled, upside down, backwards, pink, blue, purple, green, whatever you want. It's your card. So one thing I am doing is I'm rotating my stamp not each time, but various times, because I do want to get a different area of the stamp just to create more interest, right? And then I decided I wanted that bottom corner. So I did all 4 of those. Then I cut out some copy paper to cover up my feathers, because this was an afterthought. I thought I want a little splatter on there. You know me and my splatter. I mean, take away my splatter and I don't know if I could ever stamp a card again. I would be completely lost. So I'm going to trim off the ends of all of these little die cut thank yous, and I'm going to cut enough strips, foam strips, to put 2 on the back. And I was a little long there, so I'm going to snip that off, but I want to pop this up. And then it came to mind that I could die cut out this one feather and then put some pretty peacock behind it and pop it up. Now, I did use a piece of wax paper because I had done the splatter. And if you run that through your machine, the splatter is going to transfer to your embossing folder, and then you got to clean it. Throw a piece of wax paper or something in there so that it picks up the ink, not your actual embossing folder. So I'm really glad that I went and cut out that feather, because it just kind of gave it that little bit of extra dimension that I wanted. And I'm pretty pleased with that. So I'm just laying out all of my thanks. I love the 3 thanks and then the thank you. It just screams thank you everywhere. So I'm going to get all of those feathers adhered on all 4 cards. And then I'm going to do one last thing here. I'm going to spray my Aleene's Tacky Spray on the back of all of my die cut thanks words, because I am way too lazy to put glue individually on the back of all of these. I can't link the glue for you because we carry glue, but you saw it. Any of my links will probably take you to Amazon and you can pick it up there. So I went through that process for each of the different colors, and you'll notice that the top thanks kind of hangs over a little bit, but that's okay, because when I put this on my card front, it's going to be totally fine. Now, the thing I like the most about this layout is that splatter is kind of like the showcase, right? So you don't need to go and add all those extra dimension with your, your embellishments and all of that. So this card, so fast and easy. I mean, I was able to do 4 of them without it driving me completely crazy, because you know me, I do not like doing more than 1 or 2 of a card. So I was pretty pleased with that. I love the way they turn out. Check out the reflection that gold gives. I will mention the gold I used, but I don't know if I can find it or not, but any gold will work there. So if you enjoyed my video, be sure to give me a thumbs up. It truly does help my channel. And until I see you again, take care and happy stamping.